I've always believed that money, like good tea, should be poured slowly and only for those who know how to appreciate it. At 74, I live alone in a two-bedroom house on Alder Street, a quiet place with peeling white paint on the porch railing and a mailbox that sticks every winter. My wife, Margaret, used to oil the hinge every November. Small problems grow teeth if you ignore them, she would say, wiping her hands on a dish towel that smelled faintly of lavender. She's been gone for 6 years now. The house still carries her habits. The porcelain sugar bowl sits slightly chipped on the right side. The kettle whistles louder than it should. Cheap replacement I bought in 2021 for $19.99 from Walmart after the old one cracked. I keep the receipt in a drawer. Old habits. Every morning, I wake up at 6:15. Not 6:10, not 6:20. Precision is a form of control when the rest of life slips through your fingers. I shuffle to the kitchen, measure 2 spoons of coffee into the old Mr. Coffee machine, and wait for that slow, reassuring drip. On February 3rd, 2025, at exactly 8:42 a.m., my phone rang while I was buttering toast. Grandpa. The voice was rushed, breathless. Ethan, my grandson. I hadn't heard from him in, 3 months? Maybe 4. Time blurs when no one needs you. Morning, I said, wiping my fingers on a napkin. That's early for you. A nervous laugh. Too quick. I didn't know who else to call. That line, it always starts that way. I leaned back in my chair, the wood creaking under my weight. What's going on? There was a pause, just long enough to feel rehearsed. I've got a situation. It's temporary. I just need help covering something. I swear I'll pay you back. Temporary. Another word that stretches like cheap rubber. How much? Another pause. Longer this time. 60. 60 what? I asked, though I already knew. 1,000. The word landed heavy on the kitchen table, right between the butter knife and my half-eaten toast. I didn't react immediately. I've learned that silence makes people reveal more than questions. It's an investment thing, he added quickly. A short-term opportunity. I just need liquidity for a few weeks. The return is guaranteed, like legally structured. Legally structured. He sounded like one of those online ads that promise passive income and deliver regret. I stood up and walked to the window. The backyard was still wet from last night's rain. The bird feeder hung crooked. Squirrels had gotten to it again. Ethan, I said slowly, the last time you needed temporary help, it was $5,000. That was in August. I paid that back. You paid back $2,000. That's because things got complicated. But this time it's different. Of course it is. It's always different. I turned the kettle off before it could start screaming. The silence in the kitchen felt thick. You're asking for $60,000, I said. That's not help. That's a decision. I know, Grandpa. I know how it sounds. But you always said family comes first. There it was. Not a request. A lever. I closed my eyes for a moment. Margaret's voice drifted somewhere in the back of my mind. Small problems grow teeth. I'll send it today, I heard myself say. The relief on the other end was immediate, almost indecent. Thank you. You won't regret this, I promise. I'll draft something, like a repayment schedule. 2, maybe 3 weeks tops. Imagine. We hung up at 8:57 a.m. By 10:12, I was sitting in the branch office of First National Bank, across from a young man named Daniel who wore a tie too tight for his neck. Wire transfer, he asked, fingers already hovering over the keyboard. Yes. Amount, $60,000, to Ethan Collins. He glanced up briefly. That's a significant transfer. Everything okay? I smiled. A small, tired thing. Family matter. He nodded, like he understood. People always do. The confirmation printed at 10:26 a.m. I folded it carefully and placed it in my wallet behind Margaret's old driver's license. Proof of trust. Or evidence. That evening I sat in my chair with a plate of reheated stew, too much salt, not enough patience, and stared at my phone. No message. No confirmation. No got it. Just silence. And for the first time since the call, something cold settled in my chest. Not panic, not yet, but the quiet, unmistakable feeling that I had just made a very expensive mistake. I finished my dinner anyway. Waste, after all, is a sin Margaret never forgave. If you believe older voices still matter, support this channel with a like and a subscription. Silence has a way of stretching time. The next morning, February 4th, I woke up at 6:15 as usual. The coffee tasted the same, bitter, dependable, but something in the rhythm was off, like a clock ticking half a second too slow. I checked my phone before the first sip. Nothing. No message. No confirmation. Not even the lazy courtesy of a thumbs-up emoji that people now use instead of words. By 9:00 a.m., I checked it 7 times. At 11:17, I sent a message. Funds should have arrived yesterday. Confirm receipt. Short. Neutral. The kind of message a man sends when he doesn't want to sound worried. The message showed delivered almost immediately. No reply. I spent the afternoon fixing the hinge on the mailbox. Margaret would have done it properly. Taken the pin out, cleaned it, oiled it carefully. I sprayed WD-40 directly into the crack and wiped the excess with an old sock. It squeaked anyway when I tested it. Some things don't respond to quick fixes. At 3:42 p.m., I called. It rang 5 times before going to voicemail. "Hey, it's me," I said after the beep. "Just checking in. Call me when you get a chance." My voice sounded calm, practiced, like I'd been rehearsing it for years. That evening I made eggs, overcooked them, ate them anyway. Still nothing. On February 6, Thursday at 10:08 a.m., I received a notification from a bank. Outgoing transfer. $60,000 completed. No surprise there. Just confirmation of something I already knew. But below it, something else caught my attention. A line I didn't recognize. Additional transfer. $8,500. External fee/expedited processing. I frowned. That hadn't been mentioned. I called the bank immediately. First National. This is Lisa speaking. Yes, this is Harold Bennett. I made a wire transfer on Monday $60,000. I'm reviewing the statement now, and there's an additional charge of $8,500 listed as an external fee. A pause. Typing. Yes, I see it here, Mr. Bennett. That fee wasn't initiated by us. It appears to have been part of the receiving institution's request. Receiving institution? I repeated. What institution? Let me check. One moment. More typing. Longer this time. The funds were routed through a brokerage account, registered under the name Crescent Ridge Holdings, LLC. LLC, of course. And my grandson? I asked. Ethan Collins? He is listed as an authorized beneficiary. Authorized. Such a clean word for something that felt less clean. Can you tell me what kind of brokerage this is? I'm afraid we don't have full visibility on external entities, sir. Of course you don't. Thank you, I said and hung up. That afternoon, I sat at the kitchen table with my old laptop. The one that takes 3 minutes to start and hums like it's remembering something painful. I typed slowly. Crescent Ridge Holdings, LLC. The first result was a website. Sleek, minimal, black and gold color scheme. Words like premium investment opportunities, exclusive access, high-yield instruments. No physical address. No names. Just promises. I clicked through 3 pages before I found a phone number. I dialed it. A recorded voice answered. Thank you for calling Crescent Ridge Holdings. All our representatives are currently unavailable. Please leave a message. Unavailable. Naturally. I didn't leave one. At 6:25 p.m., my phone finally rang. Ethan. I let it ring twice before answering. Hello. Hey, Grandpa. His voice was bright. Too bright. Sorry I've been slammed. Things are moving fast over here. I imagine they are. A small pause. You got the money, right? I asked. Yeah. Everything came through perfectly. There was just a small processing thing, but it's all handled. $8,500 is not a small thing. Another pause. This one sharper. Yeah. That's just part of the structure. It's temporary. You'll get it all back, plus profit. I told you it's a short-term play. A play, I repeated. That's just how we say it, he laughed nervously. Don't worry, Grandpa. You're in good hands. Good hands. I looked down at my own, thin, veined, resting on the table Margaret and I had bought in 1987 for $320. Hands that had built a life. Given away, piece by piece. When will I see the return? I asked. 2 weeks. Max. 2 weeks, I said quietly. Yeah, you trust me, right? There it was again. Not a question. A test. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I listened to the faint noise in the background of his call. Music, Laughter. Glasses clinking. Not an office. Not a brokerage. Something else. I'll be waiting, I said finally. We hung up. That night, I didn't bother with dinner. I sat in the dark, the only light coming from the digital clock on the stove. 9:47 p.m. And for the first time, the feeling in my chest changed. It wasn't just doubt anymore. It was recognition. I had heard that tone before. Not in business. In lies. There's a particular kind of clarity that comes not from evidence, but from repetition. By February 10th, I had called Ethan 4 times. He answered once. Each conversation sounded the same. Different words. Same shape. Things are progressing. Legal is finalizing. There's just a delay on the back end. Back end. A convenient place where truth goes to hide. On Tuesday, February 11th at 2:14 p.m., I decided to stop asking questions politely. I drove across town to a place I hadn't visited in nearly a year, La Costa Grill. A restaurant with overpriced seafood and a parking lot always too full for his own good. Ethan had posted a photo there 2 days earlier. Public account. Careless. In the photo, he stood with 2 men I didn't recognize, both in their 30s, both wearing watches that tried too hard to look expensive. A bottle of champagne sat on the table. The caption read, "Closing moves. Big week." Closing moves. I parked across the street and sat in the car for a moment, watching people come and go. The February air still carried a bite, but the sun was bright enough to make everything look warmer than it was. At 2:27, I saw him. Same jacket as in the photo. Same careless confidence in his walk. He stepped out of the restaurant laughing, one hand in his pocket, the other holding his phone. He didn't see me. I got out of the car. "Ethan." My voice cut through the parking lot sharper than I expected. He turned. For a second, just a second. His face went blank. Not surprised. Not happy. "Caught." "Grandpa," he said, forcing a smile. "What are you doing here? I was about to ask you the same thing." I walked closer. Slow. No rush. Up close, he looked well-fed. Relaxed. Not a man under financial pressure. "Lunch meeting?" he said quickly. "Business." "With champagne?" I nodded toward the restaurant. He shrugged. "You have to spend money to make money." That line again. They all learn it somewhere. "I see," I said. "And how is my 60,000 doing?" His smile tightened. "Working." "Working," I repeated. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like it's celebrating." "That's not fair," he snapped, a flicker of irritation breaking through. "You don't understand how this works." "Then explain it to me." A pause. People were walking past us now. Glancing, slowing slightly, sensing tension the way people always do, but pretending not to notice. "It's complicated," he said. "There are layers, accounts, movements. You wouldn't get it. Try me." "Instead," I said, "I understand enough. I understand that you asked me for help. I understand that I trusted you. And I understand that 2 weeks is starting to sound like a story." His jaw tightened. "You're overreacting." Am I? I asked quietly. "Yes," he said louder now. Defensive. "You're acting like I stole from you." The word hung there. Stole. Interesting choice. "I didn't say that," I replied. "But you're thinking it." I looked at him for a long moment. Really looked. At the expensive sneakers. The watch that definitely cost more than $200, despite what it pretended to be. The phone, latest model. Details matter. "Where's the money right now?" I asked. "In the system." "What system?" He hesitated. "A secured account. With Crescent Ridge Holdings?" I asked. That landed. His eyes flickered. Just for a second. "Yeah," he said quickly. "Exactly. Then give me a statement." "What?" "A statement. Proof. Something with numbers on it that isn't coming out of your mouth." "That's not how it works." "No." I tilted my head slightly. "Because that's exactly how it works when it's real." His patience snapped. "Why are you doing this?" he said sharply. "I told you I'd pay you back." "When?" I said 2 weeks. "It's already been 8 days." "Oh my God," he threw his hands up. "It's not a grocery delivery, Grandpa. These things take time." Time. Always time. For lies to settle. For money to disappear. For trust to erode quietly. Without witnesses. People were definitely watching now. A couple near the entrance had slowed to a full stop, pretending to check their phones. "Good. Let them watch." "Ethan," I said, my voice lower now, steadier. "Listen to me carefully." He didn't respond. "If I don't see documentation, real documentation, by Friday, February 14th, At 5:00 p.m., I will assume this is not an investment. His expression hardened. And what then? I held his gaze. Then it becomes something else. A long pause, the kind that doesn't need explanation. He laughed. Short, sharp, not amused. You're threatening me? I'm informing you. We stood there for another moment, grandfather and grandson, separated not by years, but by something much simpler. Truth, or the lack of it. Friday, I said. Then I turned and walked back to my car. This time, he didn't call after me. And as I drove away, I checked the time on the dashboard. 2:41 p.m. Plenty of time for him to decide who he wanted to be, and for me to prepare for who he already was. Friday, February 14th, arrived without ceremony. No snow, no rain, just a gray sky that pressed low over the neighborhood, as if even the weather had decided not to interfere. I woke up at 6:15 as always. Routine, I've found, is a last defense against disappointment. By 7:00 a.m., I was already dressed, clean shirt, the one with the faint blue stripes Margaret used to like. You look less stubborn in that one, she once said. I never understood what she meant, but I kept the shirt anyway. At 9:12, I made the first call. Not to Ethan, to someone who deals in facts. Margaret and Company, accounting. A familiar voice answered. Linda, it's Harold. A brief pause, then warmth. Harold Bennett. Haven't heard from you in a while. Everything all right? No, I said simply. But it will be. I explained the situation in measured terms, dates, amounts, names. $60,000 on February 3rd. Additional $8,500 fee. Entity. Crescent Ridge Holdings, LLC. No documentation. Delayed responses. She didn't interrupt. That doesn't sound like a legitimate structure, she said finally. Have you received any formal agreement? Signed documents? Disclosure statements? No, that's a problem. I almost smiled. Yes, I said. I've started to notice. Do you want me to look into the company? I already did. Website, no address. Phone, no answer. She exhaled softly. Then we proceed differently. Go on. I'll connect you with a colleague, a financial fraud attorney. If this is what it looks like, timing matters. Timing, that word again, but this time it sounded useful. At 11:40 a.m., I was sitting in a small office on the third floor of a building that smelled faintly of old carpet and burnt coffee. Across from me sat Daniel Reeves, ESQ, mid-40s, calm eyes, no unnecessary words. He reviewed the printed documents I had brought, bank confirmation, transaction receipt, screenshots of Ethan's messages. You gave him the money voluntarily, he said. Yes. No written agreement? No. He nodded slowly, as if confirming something already expected. But, he added, tapping the paper lightly, intent matters. Representation matters. If he misled you about the purpose of the funds, that changes the nature of the transaction. From what to what? I asked. From a loan, he said, to potential fraud. The words settled between us. Clean. Clinical. Accurate. What do you need from me? I asked. Everything, he replied. Messages. Call logs. Any proof of what he told you before and after transfer. We built a timeline. I've already started. I assumed you had, he said, almost approving. He printed something and slid it across the desk. A formal letter. Demand for documentation and notice of legal action. Dated February 14th. Addressed to Ethan Collins. Send this at exactly 5:01 p.m., Daniel said. Not before. Why 5:01? Because you gave him until 5. I looked at him. He didn't smile. Good. At 4:58 p.m., I was back in my kitchen. The kettle was on, though I had no intention of drinking tea. Old reflex. My phone lay on the table in front of me. Silent. No documents. No messages. No attempt. At exactly 5:00 p.m., I unlocked the screen. Still nothing. Not even an apology. That, more than anything, clarified things. At 5:01, I pressed send. The email went out first, attached letter, formal language, unmistakable tone. Then a printed copy, already prepared, went into an envelope. I had arranged for certified delivery that morning. It would arrive the next day. Proof. Always proof. At 5:17 p.m., my phone rang. Ethan. I let it ring once. Twice. Then I answered. What is this? He demanded immediately. No greeting. That, I said calmly, is the first honest document in this entire situation. You're seriously doing this? His voice cracked between anger and something else. Fear, perhaps. Over a delay? A delay comes with communication, I replied. This came with silence. You went to a lawyer? He scoffed. That's insane. No, I said quietly. What's insane is thinking I wouldn't. A pause. Longer this time. You're blowing this out of proportion, he said. But the confidence was gone now. I told you the money's tied up. Then you won't have any trouble proving it. Another pause. I just need more time. No, I said. The word came out clean. Final. You had time. You used it. His breathing shifted on the other end, sharper now. You're going to regret this, he said. I looked around my kitchen, the chipped sugar bowl, the crooked bird feeder outside the window, the chair where Margaret used to sit. I already do, I replied, and I hung up. At 6:03 p.m., I finally poured the tea. It had gone slightly bitter from sitting too long. I drank it anyway, because sometimes bitterness is the only honest taste left. The envelope was delivered at 10:32 a.m. on Saturday. I know the exact time because I tracked it. People assume that age dulls attention to detail. It doesn't. It sharpens it. Because details are often the only leverage you have left. At 11:04 a.m., my phone rang. Not Ethan. His mother, Clara. I hadn't heard from her in months either. Not since Christmas, when she sent a text that said, "Hope you're doing okay," and never waited for a reply. Dad, she said, her voice already tight. What is going on? Straight to the point. No pretense. I imagine you've received a letter, I said. I've received a very aggressive legal notice addressed to my son, she snapped. That's what I've received. A factual one, I corrected. A sharp exhale. Ethan told me everything. I'm sure he did. He said this was an investment, that you agreed. I agreed to help, I said. Not to be misled. Misled, she repeated. Dad, he's young. These things get complicated. $60,000, complicated. Clara, I said calmly, when you were 22. You asked me for $3,000 for college books. You brought me receipts down to the last cent. That's different. Yes, I said. It is silence, the kind that reveals more than arguments. He just needs time, she said, finally softer now. Why escalate this? Because he forced me to. That's not fair. No, I said quietly. What's not fair is confusing patience with permission. Another pause, then sharper again. Do you realize what this could do to him? A fraud accusation? His future. Was his responsibility, I interrupted. Not loudly, but firmly enough. She didn't respond immediately. He's your grandson, she said at last, as if that should settle everything. I looked at the bank receipt still lying on the table. February 3, RD.10:26 a.m. I had memorized it by now. Yes, I said. He is. And that, I thought, was exactly the problem. At 1:15 p.m., I received an email. Subject line, documentation, no greeting, no apology, just an attachment. I opened it slowly. A PDF, 5 pages, charts, numbers, logos that looked slightly off. Not incorrect, just imprecise, like a copy of copy. I read every line, then I read it again. By the third time, I was no longer reading. I was confirming. At 2:02 p.m., I called Daniel. I've received something, I said. Send it. I did. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It's fabricated, he said, without hesitation. No build-up, no hesitation. Completely. Yes, the entity formatting is wrong. Registration numbers don't match standard filings. And this, I could hear him flipping pages. This signature block, it's copied from template. Poorly. I closed my eyes, not in shock, in recognition. How do we proceed? I asked. We escalate, he said, formally. At 4:40 p.m., the second letter was prepared. Stronger language, clearer consequences, notice of fraudulent misrepresentation. I read it twice before signing. My hand didn't shake. At 6:12 p.m., Ethan called again. This time I answered immediately. You went too far, he said. No anger now, just strain. No, I replied. You did. I sent you the documents. You sent me fiction. That's not true. It's already been reviewed, I said. by someone who does this for a living. Silence. Then, quieter. What do you want from me? There it was. Not defense. Not excuses. A question. Finally, I want the truth, I said. You can't handle the truth right now, he muttered. I almost smiled. That's interesting, I said, because I've been handling it all week. Another pause. Longer this time. He doesn't have it anymore, Ethan said finally. The words came out flat. Stripped. I repeated. A mistake. A small one. But enough. Who is Ethan? He didn't answer. But he didn't need to. Because in that moment, something shifted. The story I had been told about investments, structures, temporary moves, collapsed. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like something that was never built to stand. I'll be in touch, I said. And I ended the call. That night, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat in the dim kitchen, the clock blinking 8:03 p.m., and let the silence settle properly this time. There was no confusion left, no doubt, just a simple, undeniable fact. I hadn't just been lied to. I had been used. And now, finally, I knew where to aim. The name came to me faster than I expected. Not because Ethan told me he didn't, but because people like him rarely invent anything. They repeat. They borrow confidence, language, even mistakes. At 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad, writing down everything I knew. Dates, times, phrases, structured opportunity, back-end delay, liquidity issue, patterns. By 10:05, I had a name. Ryan Kessler. It took less than 15 minutes to confirm it. Social media is a generous thing when people are careless. Photos, tags, comments, little breadcrumbs scattered by those who think no one is looking closely. There he was. Same restaurant. Same champagne. Same watch that tried too hard. Ryan Kessler. Investment consultant. No registered firm. No license number. Just confidence and a rented office space listed on a shared workspace directory. I've lived long enough to recognize a certain type of man. Smooth voice. Fast promises. No roots. At 12:20 p.m., I was back in Daniel's office. He reviewed the printouts, profiles, screenshots, timestamps. This helps, he said. A lot. He took the money? I asked. Maybe directly, maybe not. But he's involved. That's enough to widen the scope. Good. Daniel looked at me for a moment, measuring something. You understand this won't be quiet, he said. If we proceed, there will be filings, records, possibly criminal implications. I nodded. I didn't come here for quiet. Monday morning, February 17th, th. 9:00 a.m. The complaint was filed. Formal, documented, precise. Civil claim for fraudulent misrepresentation and financial exploitation. Names included: Ethan Collins, Ryan Kessler, Crescent Ridge Holdings, LLC. Seeing it in print did something strange. Not relief, not anger, finality. At 11:43 a.m., Ethan called. I let it ring once, then answered. They came to my apartment, he said immediately. His voice was different now, tight, stripped of performance. Some guy. Papers. Official. Yes, I said. You actually filed something. I told you I would. A shaky breath on the other end. This is insane, he said. Do you have any idea what this is going to do? Yes, I replied. It's going to clarify things. You're ruining my life. I leaned back in my chair, looking at the window. The bird feeder was still crooked. No, I said quietly. I'm correcting it. Silence. Then softer, almost a whisper. He said it was real. Ryan, of course. He said everyone was doing it, that it was safe. And you believed him, I said. I needed a win. Ethan snapped suddenly. Do you understand that? I needed something to work for once. There it was. Not greed. Not entirely. Desperation. Dressed up as ambition. I understand wanting something, I said. I don't understand using me to get it. Another silence. Longer. He doesn't have the money anymore, Ethan said again. Weaker this time. No, I replied. Then what's the point of this, he asked. You're not getting it back. I looked down at my hands. Steady. You're wrong, I said. I might not get all of it back. Then why? Because this isn't just about money. He didn't answer. Because finally, there was nothing left to say. The process took 3 months. Statements, depositions, records pulled from accounts that people thought were hidden. Ryan Kessler wasn't as careful as he believed. They never are. By May, the numbers were clear. $60,000 transferred. $41,000 traced. Frozen. Recoverable. The rest gone. Spent. Vanished into dinners, watches, rent, and whatever illusion they had been buying. On June 2nd, I sat in my kitchen again. Same chair. Same table. Same chipped sugar bowl. A letter lay in front of me. Settlement confirmation. $41,000 returned. Partial accountability. Not justice, but something close enough to recognize. My phone buzzed once. A message. From Ethan. I'm sorry. 2 words. Late. Incomplete. But real, perhaps for the first time. I looked at the screen for a long moment. Then I set the phone face down. Outside, the wind shifted slightly, and the bird feeder swayed, still crooked, still imperfect. I didn't fix it. Some things, I've learned, are better left as they are. A quiet reminder that trust, once broken, doesn't need repair. Only recognition.